This is Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Mitch Lafon.
Welcome to another episode of Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon here on Mitch Marathon Month. And I just finished a weekend at Heavy Montreal. So for the next week, it's going to be Mitch Marathon Month from Heavy Montreal. And today we have got Brent Fitz and Todd Kerns from Toque. Some of you might also know them from Slash's band with the Conspirators. And joining me, and it's been a while, it is the one, the only, the affable, the Arizonian, is that how you call yourselves out there? Alan Niven.
Bonjour, monsieur. We're Arizonans. We're desert rats. And
yes.
Yes, I saw you were at Montreal. I saw you posted an absolutely spectacular picture of the Conspirators and Slash on stage, and it looked like a huge audience having an absolute ball and celebrating the community and celebrating the spirit of the community. And nice picture. Well done.
Yeah, I had a chance to be on the side stage to watch Slash, and I put a couple of pictures out on Twitter, and yeah, you know, you're right. The audience, the ambiance, everything, it looks a little bit like a concert on, I think it's called Fremont Street in Las Vegas. You've got the lights and the water fountains and people jammed in there. It was just an absolutely phenomenal time. And, you know, I wanted to capture...
Like a blast.
Oh, it did. And I wanted to capture that spirit. And I think I did capture the spirit, quite frankly. You know.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. It made me smile when I saw it because, you know, so often we hear, you know, gripes about the condition of the industry or what have you. And it's really good just to see a fabulous picture like that of a huge audience having a gas and being in celebration mode and being of the spirit.
Yeah, and of course, part of that goes to Slash and his band, but a great part of it also goes to Heavy Montreal that every year put together, and I don't want to say eclectic because eclectic almost sounds negative, but you know, they had Quiet Riot this year, they had Steel Panther, but they also had Dirty Honey, they also had Slash, they also had Slayer and Anthrax. So you're sort of covering hair metal, glam metal, sort of comedy metal, if I can call Steel Panther that, new rock, old rock. It's great to see that, you know, and it's very, very... I was just going to say...
You got to remember that I had an English childhood, and I kind of smile when people talk about eclecticism in rock and roll bills, because when I was a nipper in the United Kingdom, variance of a bill was essential and delightful. And when you had the same kind of band over and over again, it was somewhat mundane and boring. I love it when there's a mix-up.
Yeah, and there are not a lot of festivals that do that in North America. I mean, there are festivals, of course, in North America, but they seem to either focus on new metal, new rock, hair metal, you know, rap, and like they all seem to be specific. And Heavy Montreal sort of gives a pat on the back to everybody.
Yeah, back in the day, I can recall a bill where I saw the Allman Brothers play with the Mahavishnu Orchestra, play with the sensational Alex Harvey band at Nebworth, if I'm remembering the lineup correctly. And that was splendid. You know, it's variances. I mean, do we just want to eat mashed potatoes? I love mashed potatoes and gravy, but I'd like a little bit of color and a little bit of meat on the plate as well.
I agree. And which, by the way, is sort of the philosophy of Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon, because you know, today we're going to talk to Brent, and we're going to talk to Todd, and we're going to talk about Toque. But coming up on the show, I've got Doug Clifford, I've got Corky Lang, Robin Trower, I've got Godsmack, I've got Def Leppard, I've got Skillet. You know, isn't that nice to come to a show where it's not always the same type of guest doing the same type of music? I mean, and you probably should co-host when we get around to Corky Lang and Doug Clifford of CCR, because those are drummers of the day, right? Extraordinary musicians.
Yeah. You know, in the past, as I probably mentioned on a couple of casts, I'm probably the only person you know who's old enough to remember those bands in their heyday. But they came from fabulous bands, and it would be a delight to talk to you about them and my memories of them. But, you know, enough of enough of us talking. Let's go over and see what the conspirators have to say.
Yeah, let's listen to Brent Fitz, of course, a Winnipeg Jets fan, which, well,
we can forgive.
Yeah,
at least he's a hockey fan.
But I will say this. In his defense. He texted me earlier today and said, "I love the Habs. It's the Leafs I can't stand." So, bonus points for that.
And we all know that, and we have that thing of anybody but Boston as well.
Yeah, well, and of course, to be fair, he told me that before I posted the interview, so maybe it's just to garner a little extra bonus press or favorable press. Who knows? But anybody who says I don't like the Leafs is automatically friend forever. No, but jokes aside, let us get over to the conspirators. In fact, let us not get to the conspirators. They are Toque. It is a great Canadian band with Brent and Todd, and here they are backstage at Heavy Montreal 2019, recorded on July 28th, 2019. Here are Brent and Todd. We are in Heavy Montreal with Brent and Todd from Slash's band, and we are going to talk about their new Never Enough Toque album, but more importantly, we are going to talk about Kiss.
Yeah, we are.
Because we love Kiss and we love the Canadian songs you cover, but honestly, but let's talk to Toque first. And I'm not going to call it Toque this time, but new album comes out on August 27th, or the release party is August 27th. And the record.
It'll be everywhere by then. Yeah.
It is called Never Enough. You have covered, of course, Canadian bands and Canadian artists in the past. I will start with Brent so that people can recognize the voices. But what can you tell me in terms of which songs you've covered on this one?
I got to remember. You know, we recorded this record when we did the Slash album.
Well, you don't want to give too much away. I mean, we do.
So there's a few of the bands that we had on the first record. So we, I just want to say respectfully, we love Streetheart. It's one of our favorite Canadian bands of all time. So Streetheart not only was on the first record, but there will be one on the second record.
Is that because you played with them?
Well, yeah, I'm very proud to say that I actually did some time with Kenny Shields, one of the greatest singers of all time. But we just love that band and respect them. And I think that some of those songs from that great Canadian band didn't necessarily have a complete worldwide exposure. And we feel proud that if we can do one of the songs and someone from maybe in Brazil or Australia says, "I really like that song you guys covered," and it's a song from our,
They don't even say covered, they say that song.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives it some new life, like a Queen City Kids song. But, so there's some, what did we do, Todd?
This is Todd. Red Rider, we did a Headpin song. We did Toronto. Yeah, Headpins were great, man. Right. I saw them a bunch of times back in the day. Did you really? Wow. Yeah. I saw them, first time I saw them was without Brian and Ab, because Headpins was a spin-off of Chilliwack. Brian McLeod started this side project. It eventually became the main project. But first time I saw them, they were opening for Toronto. We were kids, and it was like other guys, because Brian and Ab were still in Chilliwack. This is like 1% of your audience is going, "Oh, okay." The rest is going, "What is he talking about?" But and then there's we got like you said, we did because Kenny passed away. Kenny Shields from Streetheart. We had to do another song for them. We did another Queen City Kids song, Prism from Vancouver. So there's a lot of Bryan Adams, yeah. So there's a lot of Canadianisms that a lot of these songs we were already playing in a live format anyway. And then we wrote a song. And that's the most important thing to focus on. So there's a video coming, and that will all be released on the 27th when we have a CD release party in Winnipeg.
Yeah. So, in fact, let me talk about Prism real quick. Of course, you mentioned you did Bryan Adams. Jim Vallance was the drummer in Prism for a New York minute.
That's a good, deep
Bruce
Canadian trivia question.
That is a great trivia question, isn't it?
Right.
But it happens that I interviewed Jim twice this year, so
wow.
I researched it.
Bruce Fairbairn played trumpet in Prism.
That's right.
And I believe he recorded the first album, or maybe some of the albums. I'm not sure actually, but it was a heavy, talented crowd of guys in that thing for sure.
Well, that whole sort of Bruce Allen, Bob Rock, Jim Vallance, that all came basically from Prism offshooting kind of thing.
Loverboy, yeah. And that was the West Coast, Vancouver. I mean, there was some magic in that era.
Obviously,
just like
Adams is connected too, because him and Vallance ended up writing all those songs together. So yeah, so Bryan Adams, all that Vancouver thing. Yeah,
I kind of equated to definitely like Toronto's always had a very cool, clicky, the Triumph, Rush, and then the Rough Trades, or a lot of
Coney Hatch,
a lot of those 70s and 80s era Toronto bands. And then you have the Prairies, which actually kind of started in the 60s with Neil Young and the Guess Who, and then into the 70s with Harlequin, Streetheart, Queen City Kids, early 80s Kick-Axe, hello, greatest band.
Helix, they're from back east,
but they're a Toronto band.
True.
Well, London.
Yeah, London, Ontario. Oshawa, maybe? Yeah, okay, there you
whatever.
Yep.
Somewhere in Ontario.
Love those guys too. But that whole West Coast Vancouver scene was really great.
Together, yeah.
So we actually did. What else did we do, Todd?
You did the Bryan Adams song.
Yeah.
Bryan Adams song.
Which one?
First album. We'll just say it's from the first record. And so instead of going with like a record full of massive hits, we went right back to square one with Bryan Adams.
So are we going Hiding from Love or Remember?
Well,
one of those two, because those are the. But okay, let me ask you this then: since you're covering stuff like that, Brian and Jim Vallance wrote for Kiss, and they wrote for BTO, and they wrote for all kinds of other bands before they became Bryan Adams and Jim Vallance. They were just respectfully two schmucks from out west. Would Toque, would you eventually consider expanding into not just covering
what you're asking us, are we going to do a Kiss record? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes. Everything comes back to Kiss. Hey, remember Todd the
Why
other
are we
day?
playing around? Are you going to do a Kiss record?
You're going to cover War Machine. It's really what I'm asking.
I had a good reference the other day because Todd and I were listening to something, and I go, hey, check this out. And it was a cover of the song Does a Fool Ever Learn, which Helix recorded first, but it's actually an Eddie Schwartz, who's a great songwriter, and I think he's knighted or something in Canada or something. He's like a Hall of Fame kind of guy. And that song was also covered on a Skinnerd.
That's right.
Like another record.
38 Special.
38 but not 38 Special. The other, the brother had another band. I'm just drawing a blank right now.
Rosington Collins?
Something like that. But that song, and to me, that's like, well, that's open game, because that song seemed to have a couple spins with some other artists, and I think we should give that song like a new twist. Just like, not to talk about Kiss, but I have to talk about Kiss, but hey, on the cruise last year, we pulled out Sword and the Stone, which is a great,
as covered by Paul Dean from Loverboy as well.
It all comes back to Kiss and the West Coast.
It really does. 6 degrees of separation from Kiss.
Do people listening right now, other than the three of us, does everybody know that there's two songs on It's Creatures of the Night, right? Written by Bryan Adams and Jim Vallance. You can tell the audience what those songs are.
Yes, they are War Machine and Rock and Roll Hell, which Ron Keel covered.
That's right.
For my record.
Now, isn't there a version of... Which one did Bachman Turner Overdrive cover?
Rock and Roll Hell.
Rock and Roll Hell, that's what it was. Yeah.
Right.
Damn, dude.
You're trying.
I know, I can hang, but I don't hang. Yeah.
I got this stuff covered because I actually... You may or may not have known, but in 2013, I did a Kiss tribute called A World with Heroes. My wife's father passed away from prostate cancer, and she said, I want to donate to the palliative care home. And I said, well, let me call a few people. I was going to do like 10 tracks. Sure. Ended up being 40, and so I had to research all this because I paid all the rights. It wasn't done bootleg, So I had to figure out who did what and where did it go, and so we got into the whole history. But and
that's a very deep history. I know. That's amazing, though.
It is. But are you going to cover songs that were primarily released by Canadian artists, or do you get into that sort of secondary market, for the lack of a better word, where you go, okay, well, Bryan Adams wrote a song for Rod Stewart, and
I mean, that's the fascinating thing. So it really, honestly, started out as Brent was saying. We always thought it'd be really interesting because we, literally driving around Los Angeles listening to a Queen City Kids CD or a Streetheart CD, as we do. And I'm thinking, like, as I'm looking around at the other cars, I go, none of these people know this music. And we love it, like, to death. We just grew up on it. So things become very regional. Things become very sort of, just for us kind of thing. And that's the fascinating thing about the idea of recording this music, is it creates the idea of people in Japan or South America or Australia hearing songs they never would have ever heard before. Sorry. There's a band in the background looking at me funny. They're my band. But so that made it kind of like, that was sort of the opus morendi, was just kind of like, well, let's let's just record some of these songs. It'd be fun. And then sort of the idea of doing a second one was kind of like, oh, we're already here. Now it's sort of like anything goes, really.
The band is not really our band. That's what I always say, is like so many people chime in and go, hey, you guys should do a Coney Hatch song. You know, Eddie Trunk will tell us, you need to do Coney Hatch. Well, yes, we do.
Well, I told you Tease's Heartless World.
I love Tease. Yeah, I mean, what's the other song that Tease did?
Boys Are Out Tonight?
No, keep going. Tease is great. So
Heartless World.
I have it on my playlist.
I keep thinking.
I have this great...
Tate doing Heartless World would
Wow, that'd be awesome.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So because it's like everybody throwing in their 2 cents, it's awesome because we kind of look at it like, well, what would everybody else be happy to hear? So like I said, it's sort of everybody else's band. And the idea is it was put together for that purpose, for like a celebration of that. But I mean, honestly, we've been working in the last several years on a bunch of great music with Slash, writing new, fresh music. So our artistic side of writing songs and everything is always there too. We love playing other people's music, but we also write good songs together. Todd and I have been writing a lot of songs together with other people, so it's just natural. Like, we're going to flex that muscle too and write some of our own songs. So, we also play on The Kiss Kruise with Bruce Kulick. We don't even have a band name, but the other day, Bruce, what did he say? MOBB, members of Bruce's band.
Mob. I said the Mob. That's a good name for a band. The Mob.
But we've been doing Kiss covers, right? Proudly. But now it's kind of like even that band has the potential to do something with some original, material as well. Yeah. So we have all these palettes of great, like for the right reasons. I mean, when we started with Slash, we really were playing all his catalog as a cover band. Honestly, that's what it was. And now we've turned it into a great band that today we're playing Heavy Montreal and we're playing all of our own music. Yeah. If Toque becomes that, great. If something with Bruce Kulick and Todd and I becomes something like that too, great.
Well, okay, let me ask you about that, because you obviously did original music with Bruce in Union.
Yeah.
Is that something? I'm not talking about reviving Union, but do you think you could get on with Bruce and do some Union and stuff, but also create new music and maybe call it something else, whatever you want, the Mob, the X-Men, the whatever you want to call it, and push that and do a show where you do something from the Blue Room and Sword and Stone and then new stuff?
Sure. And again, it's all coming down to like what would serve an audience. So we can be selfish to some degree because, we like, these songs, like even the covers that we do with Toque. But if we played only the deepest cuts that nobody's ever heard, well, people are going to be like, cool, you did a bunch of Canadian songs that are completely, they're irrelevant because we can't sing them and dance them. So same thing with playing Kiss songs and that. So I think
that's not true. In the Kiss camp, you can dig as deep as you want to dig.
You're absolutely right.
We do that Kiss Cruise, and there was the first time we did it with Bob, both Kulick brothers, and we were digging deep, but it wasn't deep like doing All American Man or
Larger Than
Life, and those kind of some of the Paul Stanley solo stuff.
You're gonna do Under the Rose.
Yeah. But I mean, if we did Under the Rose, they would go over. Nothing would go over bigger than like something like that, because the fans, they've heard all the hits so many times. I mean, everybody in this sitting here right now, we've all heard all those songs a million times. But when you start digging deep, that's when the fans dig it, and that's what we really learned on the first cruise. So that when we did it the second time with just Bruce and we brought in Zach, then it was like, dude, anything goes, and we really tried to dig as deep as we could, and we put together these medleys of. Like Revenge stuff and Carnival of Souls stuff, and you really can't dig deep enough. And in fact, the more crazy you go, the fact that we busted out Sword in the Stone, which was only a demo, was never a released song, is like, and the people went bananas, and they talk about it to this day. It's like, so you really can't even imagine. Whatever you can think of. If we can think of more demos, we'll record those. We'll do a version of those.
No, and that's...
Hey, Frank Sidoris.
There you go.
You guys like big Kiss fan. Big Kiss fan.
We love Kiss. All Kiss all the time. But no, that's the great thing about the cruise, is that they're not casual fans on there. There might be a couple of wives or something that come along that are... But it's pretty much 98% of people that go, please play something I've never heard before.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
We are absolutely on the cruise as Kiss fans ourselves. So it starts with our love and appreciation for the band. So we are like give the people what they want. So as much as I'm sure everybody's like, what are they going to play this year? You know, that's the next step is we're playing the Cruise this year.
That's a lot of pressure, actually, because we've been sort of really kind of killing ourselves thinking about, like you can't go out there and just do what we already did. In fact, you have to kind of dig even deeper, and not only deeper, but like, you know, but still kind of make it, you know.
You gotta do like the Kiss disco set. Do like, is that you? Sterno something. Like,
they've already done that, actually.
Yeah.
So, but I think we're good for like something. I'm not going to call out songs and just say this is what we're doing on the cruise, but there's definitely, you know, some other things on, I don't know, Creatures of the Night. I think our band is good for like Creatures right through to Carnival of Souls. Hey,
I think so. Yeah,
I think that's open game for us, and of course Bruce celebrating anything that he was part of from his era. Did I say it right? Era.
But you have to keep in mind that, you know, even the stuff from like, and I keep saying to him, wouldn't it be amazing to do like Kiss Alive 3 in its entirety, and then taking into account that Bruce was around on the
double bass drum,
dude,
that whole thing.
Yeah, like making it that version, those versions of those songs, and then you got to take into account that Bruce was on Animalize Live, you know. So I always, whenever I think of like, you know, Under the Gun or Thrills in the Night, you know, I think of Bruce. You know, I mean, I know that Mark played on those songs or on some of them. Bruce played on Lonely as the Hunter or something weird. There's a good trivia question, and I always forget. But I, you know, in terms of the first time I ever saw Kiss was in '85 on that tour. So I think of Bruce.
Well, Silent Limit is '85.
No, it was Animalize. So that's at 84, 85?
Yeah, we both
84,
saw
yeah,
the
right.
Animalize tour separate cities apart, but he saw it in Regina, I saw it in Winnipeg. That was our first Kiss live experience, and Bruce was the guitar player. So
yeah. So to me, I think that we are allowed to play anything from that. We can really play anything we want anyway. That's the cool thing about it. Kiss Alive 3 is that you have Deuce, you have Watching You, you have a lot of classics on there too. So
and Revenge is one of the best Kiss records, you know, in the top 5. And come on, it's to play. There's a lot of good musical stuff going on. That's not easy stuff to play. So to get
the coolest thing is hearing the, you know, even the Kiss guys, their reaction to it. You know, I think that in their own way, because they, you know, they are so focused on doing their job, and we all know that you those guys live and walk and breathe it. So they go on stage, they've got to do Rock and Roll Night, they've got to do Detroit Rock City, they've got to do Lick It Up, they've got to do all those songs. But I think that they kind of like, you know, they really got a kick out of like kicking back and seeing guys play Take It Off, or, you know, or like, you know, a bunch of the Carnival Souls medley. I think that they, you know, they thought, wow, that's really cool that these guys are crazy enough.
It sort of takes a little bit of the pressure off of them because people keep asking for those songs. And then they got to hear them. So I was like,
just wait for Bruce.
Basically, or Bob, or whoever. On the Toque album, you did mention that there's an original song.
Yeah.
So let's talk original song, because you don't want to just be a glorified cover band, because that's not the purpose.
Right.
So talk to me about making this, and does it lead to sort of Toque 3, where there's like half original and half covers, or do we start moving away from covers and becoming an all-original band?
I think it'll speak for itself once the song that's original by us. I have no opinion on it right now because no one's heard it. Right. So we wrote a song. I would be safe to say, maybe Todd would agree, that we didn't try to write a modern rock song to maybe be like, well, you guys play with Slash, so that it should sound like that. I don't know what it sounds like. Does it sound more like the stuff we've been playing in Toque? I guess so.
I think we kind of purposely, you know, went out of our way. Not went out of our way, but we kind of like did have that sort of, when you're wearing your toque, literally, your toque hat, I was going to say. You know, you kind of like, musically, I'm speaking.
For Americans, winter ski hat.
When you're wearing your winter ski hat. But when you're wearing, you know, like this gig sounds like this. So when we kind of started coming up with a song, it almost kind of like, well, what would it be like if we were like, you know, pitch this song to Prism? You know, or something like that. So to me, it was kind of like that song kind of has a little bit of that vibe. Not really overall, but it does have a little bit of a throwback to some degree, and I think that that's on purpose. And I wouldn't even say it's tongue-in-cheek, because in reality, it turned out to be a really catchy, great song. And to answer your question, I think a lot of it is unwritten, you know, as to what the plan is. I mean, it's becoming...
Is there a plan, or is it
there's not a plan. There never was a plan in the first place. So to me, it's kind of like when you say cover band, or... I don't really take offense to that, because we really... I mean, the thing we kind of skipped over is that we actually started the band playing charity events in Canada.
Money away, and it was just for
and we built it around the idea of doing Canadian music just because it was in Canada, and we thought, wouldn't it be fun to just play all those old songs? And then it just, you know, as things do, it seems like there's a master plan, but there never is. It's sort of like we started doing these songs, and we thought, I love playing these songs. Wouldn't it be cool if we could record these and release them, and Japanese people and Australian people could hear these, and we did that, and then it's just sort of like everything just sort of kind of follows its own momentum in that way. So the next record, I have no idea. I mean, who knows? I mean, we live in a day and age where is it better to release just random songs now and again? Does recording 12 songs sound antiquated? I don't even know anymore. You know, it's like I like doing it that way, but it is a weird conversation.
It is, and you've got a band here, Clutch, that are doing these weather maker things where they're doing a single every month.
Yeah.
And that's sort of it. They're not doing an album. They're doing a new song, and they're all cover songs. They did a ZZ Top song, and I forget what the other one was, but it's just one on July 9th, one on August 9th, one on...
I have much respect for that. I think that's cool. You know, and I think just people, if they're supporting what you do musically, and as long as the idea of presenting something new and fresh is part of it, you know, like we are just totally in the now. Even though we're having some fun, it's like throwback mentality, playing old Kiss songs, playing old, Canadian classics we grew up on. But it's very today. Like, it's very much in the now. We're not living in the past. We're playing stuff we liked, but it's a fresh thing. So, even covering songs, like some of these Toque songs are very much, we love the way the original song was and made us feel, and we want to honor it that way. So it's to give it a fresh coat of paint and a new sound and a new, it just sounds tougher and a little more, the recording versions. That's the now. You know what I mean?
There's a funny parallel between all of this stuff, because the funny thing is, in playing with Slash, Brent and I were pretty religious about, like, if we're going to do these Guns N' Roses songs, let's do them respectfully. Like, I don't want to do, like, here's the industrial, yeah, it's like, no, we're going to fucking play the song, and we're going to play it correctly, and we're going to play it right. So that, Bruce Kulick, Toque, all those things all have this sort of, like, we're not going to go in and do Kiss songs half-assed. Like, we're doing them as best we can. We're going to play them to the peak of our ability. And if that means, I mean, it's tough. These are all, the bars are raised by, like, An Appetite for Destruction or every Kiss album or all these classic Canadian songs we grew up on. But we go in there with the most amount of respect we can and just go in there and do them the best we can. And every one of them is with just straight love, straight respect, and straight homage to the greatness of all that stuff.
Now, I know you're going to have to start getting ready for the show here, but one of the things that's nice, and what I've heard from guys from Killer Dwarves and Helix, is that you sort of raised the profile from Canadian music, because Slash being an international star and you're being on that international stage, like you said, all of a sudden Japan, all of a sudden Brazil, yeah. And all of a sudden these bands that have been playing, the Brass Monkey in Ottawa and the Rock Pile in Toronto are starting going, hey, we're getting calls in San Antonio, hey, we're getting calls in, yeah. and it's helped. And that's great.
That's actually a thrill. I mean, I honestly, I think that was the most ultimate goal from the beginning, was like, if we can help, raise any focus on the music we grew up on, like the Dwarfs and Helix and every other band that we grew up loving. Honeymoon Suite, we love all those bands. We play New Girl Now live. That's on the first album, New Girl Now.
Yeah. We forgot to mention, there is a Rush song on the new Toque record. Yeah. But here's a interesting side note of the Toque project, and we gave the CD, Todd gave the CD to, well, you tell the story. He gave it to Slash one day. And it was just a very casual thing where, he just mentioned, oh yeah, this is something Brent and I did, and it was a CD that, who listens to CDs anymore, right? I guess you gave it to Slash, and he actually listened to it in his car or something, and he complimented and said, this sounds really great. And
he goes, is that Aldanova? Is that an Aldanova song? And I go, yes, it is. I go, so I mean, like, because a lot of those songs did have a crossover. April Wine, I'm trying to think which other ones we did that were pretty universal. Oh, Loverboy, Working for the Weekend, stuff like that. Saga. Those kind of. Those
were hits in the States, so Slash would have known those songs too, whether he liked them or not.
And then the Fantasy song was
so.
Big.
Fast forward to like a few months back. Frank Sidoris from our band here took a very unfortunate, but just a quick little leave of absence, and we were going to put somebody else in the band, and the thing was, and it's funny.
Go out between here; it's on the other side of that trailer.
Should let Slash tell the story because he's right beside.
I know.
So the story goes that Slash brought up to us. He goes, "Hey, because Frank's going to take a quick little break here. I was thinking, what about using the guy from Toque?" And Todd and I, most people probably think, well, you guys had, because anyway, Corey Churko filled in on the Slash gig. That was not us mentioning it to
we
Slash.
We barely had time to compute that this was happening, that we were going to have to get in the guitar player. Anyway, he was the first guy that Slash brought up. Of all the players that we know in L.A. and everywhere else, it was kind of like, What about the guy from Toque, who is in L.A., but I mean, we're like, yeah, of course, yeah, Corey'd be perfect. He's professional. He just...
The record was great, the way Corey played on it. So, to the respect of Toque, it must have been good enough that Slash was like, hey, well, let's get Corey to play in the band. So,
the guitar player from that thing that you guys did, that was great.
And then he found out much later, in the middle of the tour, that Corey's actually the musical director for the past 20 years for Shania Twain, and played with a whole bunch of great artists. So, that was nice that he didn't even know that. But, anyway...
Do you start covering Shania songs at some point?
She's Canadian.
Todd can sing the shit out of female songs. I mean, all you have to, if you're listening to this, you want to set the bar right there. Go listen to him do "Don't It Make You Feel" by the Headpins, which and that's already been released. We put that out a few months ago, which was also cool. That Darby, the singer from the original band, who gave us her blessing and loved it so much that she sang on it with us. So she sings on the last verse, and a lot of people probably didn't even know that, or I don't know. It seemed like people were like, is Todd singing on that song? Yes, that's Todd singing the actual song with Darby in the third verse. So, yeah, awesome that Todd can sing. And the Alanis Morissette song is great. So
that's right. There's an Alanis Morissette song.
That opens up for we could do some Rough Trade, or we could do I don't know what else is
Rough Trade. Damn.
What else was Canadian?
Well, there's a million female artists. Now you're talking. A rock version of that would be hilarious.
Actually, that would be
It'd be good to do a French song too. I think that'd be brilliant.
Funny.
Yeah.
And it's not,
Bye bye, Mo Cowboy.
It
It was a huge song. Well, then if we go down that road, we just suddenly do the Informer by Snow. Informer.
I think the ultimate goal is to get Bob Rock to produce Toque doing a payola song.
Now you're
talking.
What was it?
I've been pitching Eyes of a Stranger since the beginning of the band. No one will bite on it.
What was that?
Down.
Dirty Water.
Yeah, that was Rock and Hide.
Rock and Hide, great song. See how happy we are talking about all this music. It's like, and a lot of people who probably I don't even know any of these bands. All had good songs.
In your dirty water. Do you have to pay for that now?
Probably, but the question I have now: how does that relate to Kiss? Though we're off topic now.
Bob Rock produced. He mixed some stuff for Bruce Fairbairn, who produced Psycho Circus. There you go. There's your connection.
That's right.
And Headpins opened for Kiss, you said earlier. So,
and I believe he introduced Jim Vallance to Bryan Adams or something like that. There's some
must be something there.
1981 connection.
Yep.
Crazy. What a pool of talent they had just kicking around back then, huh? All those guys to go on and do like massive international shit. That's crazy.
Yeah, so there we go. So I guess we'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah.
I think we're I mean, it's never enough. But today it's going to have to be enough. It comes out on August 27th, a day that should be celebrated.
Exactly.
If you're listening, my wife, just in case.
It's an actual Mitch Lafon
birthday.
Someone's birthday. I was only born in 82.
There you go.
Great.
But there you go. Thank you, thank you, boys. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks,
Thank
Mitch,
you,
for
always supporting.
Yeah.
There you go.
You're listening to Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Rock Talk.